Welcome back to the Arbitress YouTube channel. In today's class, we're going to learn how to make this beautiful kimono jacket with ASO OKE collar and pocket. It has this beautiful rope to tie it at the center, and the sleeve is also with elastic. It is adjustable. You can adjust it anyhow you want. It's a simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. This is something you like to learn. Kindly stay tuned till the end of this tutorial. Thank you.
This is a cowl jacket with collar. The collar is made with ASO OKE. So I'm going to be working with this ASO OKE fabric for the collar, and I'm working with this Ankara fabric for the main jacket itself. It's a kimono jacket and it has cowl design at the side. So I have folded my fabric into 4. I'm cutting the front and back together. So this is my fabric folded into 4, and the measurement that I use to fold it is the total length of the kimono that I want. So I want the kimono is like a top. Okay, I don't want it too long, so I have just 36 inches. So let me just measure from the hem. I have 36 inches including seam allowance for my total length, for the total length of my jacket. And then for the width, what you're going to use to fold the width is your back measurement. My back is 16 divided by 2 is 8. So if I have 8 inches here, and then you're going to use your total sleeve length, so it's up to here. It has an elastic rubber here which makes it adjustable. So I just want to work with my full sleeve measurement. My actual full sleeve measurement is around 21 inches. So that is what I have here. You can see I have 21 and a half, or around 22 inches including my casing allowance there. So altogether I have about 30 inches here, and then I have 36 inches on length. So the 30 inches you can see is folded into 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 for both front and back, and this part is on fold. Okay, so I'll start taking my measurements from this folded part. So we have already measured here, so we understand that we got it. That's our back measurement plus our sleeve measurement. So from this folded part, I'll just take my neckline measurement. The neck width I'm working with is 3 inches. Okay, and the neck depth is 1 inch for the back. So because it's folded together and the back is going to be smaller, so we are just going to work with the back neck measurement. So I have 3 inches by 1 inch like that. Okay, there's no need for shoulder slope. In fact, if you have enough fabric, you can just fold it together in a way that if your fabric is very long, you can fold together in a way that you won't have any seam around here. So I'm not going to be making any shoulder slope on the shoulder area. The next thing I'm going to do now is to go over to this edge where my sleeve is going to be. So on this edge, this other edge here, you're going to measure around your sleeve area loosely. Okay, so you can see this one is around 11 inches. So you can multiply that by 2 because remember it's going to be an elastic and you want it to have a puffy effect, so you need it to be as big as possible. So now I think I'm just going to mark around 10 to 11 inches. So which means by the time this is on fold, by the time I sew it together on the shoulder, I'll have about 22 inches, which is quite big. You can see how big it is. So by the time I gather it with my elastic, it's going to give me something puffy. So depending on how puffy you want the wrist area to be, just work with what you have. So for me, I think I'm working with 11 to 12 inches thereabouts. Okay, so I'll just leave it at 11 and a half. So on this point where I have my 11 and a half inches, I'm going to come inwards by around 1 to 2 inches because I'm going to create a casing for my elastic. So this extension that I'm going to have here is what I'm going to fold to create this casing. So you can see I have came inwards just like this. So after doing that, now I'll go over to the hem of the blouse of the jacket. I'll go over to the hem of the jacket. On the hem of the jacket, you can see that it's not so wide. It's like a smaller width compared to what we have coming from the upper part. So on this hem here, I'm just going to input my hip measurement. The hip is 46 inches. So 46 inches divided by 4 is around 11 and a quarter thereabouts. So I'll just work with 11 inches, which is here. Okay, depending on how loose you want it to be around there, you can just work with this. You can reduce from it, or you can just add around 1 inch for it, but I'm just adding 1 inch seam allowance. to that. Okay, so that's what I'm working with. If you want it to be a bit bigger on the hem, you just add to it, and if you want it to be more pencil, you can just reduce it by 1 or 1.5 inches thereabouts. So the next thing we are going to do now is to connect from this hem to this sleeve extension that we came in by. You can see it's quite big, so I just hope, okay, let me turn like this if it's going to be able to capture it. So I'm marking from this 2 inches extension all the way to this part. So with my, I'm using my free hand for this. I'm just connecting in a diagonal form like this. So all of this excess that we have here is what is going to form the cowl. It's going to be quite big because I want it really voluminous. So you can see how I have connected it to meet with what I have there. So by the time I cut it out, I'm sure we'll see it better. So now I'll bring my scissors and then I'm going to cut. So cutting like this, and then when I get here, I'm going to cut out the extension. So you can see this extension here on the sleeve. That's what I'm going to use for my casing. So I'm just opening this hole. So you can see the shape that we have there. You can see from our sleeve area here, I just connected it all the way to my hip measurement that I took on the hem. So you can see the shape that we formed there. So here I'm going to cut out my back. The center back is going to remain closed. Okay, I'll just remove the front. I'll remove the back so that I can shape the front part of the blouse, but for the center back is just going to remain closed like that. Okay, so just thinking, if you did not see it well, what I just did was to fold my fabric like this. Here I took my neckline measurement and then I connected it. So here where my sleeve opening is going to be, I mark 11 inches downwards like this. Okay, and then I came in by 2 inches so that I can fold in my channel, the channel that I'm going to use for the elastic. And then on the hem I mark my hip measurements and then I added 1 inch seam allowance. So after that, what I did was just to connect like this to meet what I have on the hem. So this is the shape that we have here on the table. So now that I have cut it out, I'm just going to go ahead and remove one of it, which is going to be my back, and then I'll continue to work on the front. Okay, so now for the front, remember this is our neck width, so that's what I'm going to maintain. I'll just shape it to meet the hem. Okay, you can see I have 1 inch allowance here, so I'm going to shape it up to the 1 inch allowance because I need it to sew my front and back together. So from here I will take my chalk and then I'm going to connect. You can see I'll connect, and once I get to somewhere here, I'll just slant my hand and then go to meet this. So from the paper, this is what I did. You can see this is my neckline here. So from the neckline here, I connected like this just to meet my 1 inch allowance here. The paper may not show it well, but this is what I have done here. So you can see. So I'm going to cut it out now so that we can see it. So I'm cutting like this, and then I'm going to cut up to the neck point area. So this is what I have for the front. Okay, so now this is the shape that we have after cutting it out. So what I'm going to do now is to lay the front and back on each other. But before you lay your front and back on each other, you go ahead and cut your facing. You can either use facing to turn it, or you use your bias. I'm using facing for mine, so I have cut out my facing. You can see it's just a smaller version of what we have here. So you can see what my facing looks like. Okay, it's just about 3 inches. So this is the front. I have 2 for the front, and this is for the back. So you can see this is my facing, and this is for the back as well. So you just remove your neckline and then you cut out how long you want it to be. So what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and join the shoulder of the front and back together. Okay, so this is the front. Sorry, the table is quite small. This is the front. So I will lay the front and back on each other, and then I'm going to join it together on the shoulder. Then after joining the shoulder together, I'll create my casing for my elastic on this. Remember these 2 inches that we coming by, that's what I'm going to use for the casing. So I'll create the casing for the elastic, and then I'll sew the side. I'll join the side as well, and then I'll bring it back to show us what we'll have. So I have gone ahead to sew it. You can see this is the shoulder area, it is joined together, and then on the sleeve area you can see I just hemmed it inward so that I can have a channel for my elastic, and then I went ahead to join it on the side by 1 inch allowance, so you can see. So I just have this opening. So after joining my elastic to it, now I can completely close it back. So this is the elastic I'm working with. So you just measure how tight you want it to be, and then you cut it out. So I'll just pass mine, and when I pass it and I stretch, I'll cut it wherever it is that I feel I'm comfortable with. So after passing the elastic, now the next thing now is to create our ASO OKE collar and pocket. So I have already added the elastic. You can see now that the elastic is there. So the next thing now is to measure out where you want to place your ASO OKE. So I want it to be around the waist area. So from my shoulder, which is here, I'm measuring like 16 inches downwards. So I have it around here. So the next thing you're going to do now is to notch your center back. Okay, so you just put the back together like this, and then you place a notch on your center back so that I can easily measure out where the collar is going to be. So after notching it like this, I'll take my tape and then measure half of it. So of course you know that you just need to multiply whatever you measure by 2 to get your full measurement. So I have measured the center back. Now I'm taking it towards the front, and I have about 20 inches. You can see I have about 20 inches there. So multiply by 2 for the other half, that's going to be 40 inches. So I've gone ahead to cut out my ASO OKE. This is 41 inches because I'm going to turn it out, of course. So I have about 40, right up to 42 because it's removing. So what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and close these 2 edges. So I just fold this into 2. The ASO OKE is about 6.25 inches. So I'll fold it into 2 like this, and then I'm going to sew it close here so that it can be neat on both edges. Then after that, I'm going to notch the center. Okay, you can place like a stay in between and interfacing to make it stronger, but the ASO OKE is stiff enough, you can just work with it like that. I'm working with this like that. So after this, now I'll place a notch on the center back, and then I'm going to match it to this center back here. So after that, I'm going to sew it like this to the side, and then I'll do the same thing on this side. So I'm turning mine with my facing. Remember, I cut out the facing. This is my facing. I already joined the shoulder of the facing as well. That's what I'm going to use to turn this. So if you want this to have a lining, or you want it to make it a reversible jacket, you just cut it the same way that you have cut your main fabric. You cut it exactly the same way, and then you use them to turn out each other. But I am using my facing to turn mine. So after sewing my collar to it, I'm going to turn with my facing before I attach the pockets. So I have sewn the ASO OKE. You can see I sew it up to where I want it to be. You can see that it is neat on this side, but it's still rough on the inner part. So for it to be neat on the inner part as well, I'm just going to bring my facing. Okay, I'm going to notch the center back of the facing as well, and then I'm going to sew it in a way that is going to cover it up. So you can see now I'm going to pin it like this, so that by the time I sew it, it's going to cover up the rough edges. So you can sew a hemming gum to it so that I can use it to glue them together, or you can sew it down. Just make sure that it stays well. And then if I do that, I'm going to place a rope here so that I can easily tie it. So at the hem here where the Ankara stop, the Aso Oke stop somewhere here. I'm going to place a rope around here, okay, and I will find a way to turn the rope together with my facing. So the rope is going to be here, and then the facing is going to cover everything up. So I'll go ahead now and sew that as well. I have used my facing to cover it up. You can see now that the neckline area is neat, so I'm going to weave the inner part, and then I sew it all the way to the hem of the front as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and hem the back like this. Okay, I'm just going to fold it in and hem it. So this is what the collar looks like now. So I'll take it to the ironing table, and then I'm going to iron it flat. So the last thing I'm doing now is to fix my pocket with my Aso Oke as well. So from where my collar stops, which is around here, I'm just going to measure around 2 inches downwards, and then I'm going to fix the Aso Oke along that line. I want the Aso Oke to be around 7 inches in length. So I have cut out the 7 inches, so I cut out 8 inches. I'm going to fold this in and sew. I'll fold this in and sew as well. So after folding it, I'll just place it along this line like this, and then I'm going to sew around it, leaving this upper part so that you can easily dip your hand inside. So I'll do this for the 2 sides, and then the jacket is ready. Now we'll take it to the mannequin so that we can see what it looks like.
So this is what it looks like on the mannequin. You can see how neat the collar area is. So this is the rope that you're going to use to tie it. You can loosen it, or you can just leave it open depending on how you want to style it. And you can see that I have already sewn my 2 pockets to it as well. So that is where the pockets are, and you can see the shape that we have in front and the cowl that we have formed at the side. The elastic makes the sleeve adjustable as well. You can push it up or down depending on what you want, and the collar goes all the way to the back. So this is what it looks like on the side, and this is what the back of the jacket looks like. You can see how beautiful it looks and how simple it is to make this jacket. I hope you enjoyed making this beautiful jacket with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.